Welcome to a Solitaire war game review from theplayersaid.com. My name is Grant. You are probably going to see another video on the channel about this, as Alexander and I have been playing Warfighter Vietnam together pretty extensively cooperatively. I think we've played 4, maybe 5 scenarios at this point, and I know we've talked about playing another, but this review video is going to be about the game as a solitaire game. I have played several of the other entries in the Warfighter series Solitaire, but I decided that I wanted to give this one another try solitaire. I have now completed 2 full scenarios, and then I had started another one, but I got distracted and had to restart it, and then I just decided to shoot the video. I feel like I have a good understanding of the solitaire part of it, and really, frankly, it's not that much different than the cooperative version. So I'll go ahead and just give you my thoughts on this. It's not going to be an overly long video. I'm also not going to do a playthrough video. But first off, I want to tell you about the Warfighter series in general. I'm going to go ahead and move. Nice looking cover. This is the first Dan Verson games in the Warfighter series that I really feel like they have invested a bit more in not only art, but graphic design, layout. They've made the cards look really good. The board, I think, looks really good. That's Apocalypse Now, right? You've got the Hueys coming in low at sunset. You've got your GIs in the foreground. Nothing overly complex about it, but definitely a big, big improvement over what they have done in the past. But the Warfighter series, if you don't know, it is a card-based game where you as the player are controlling a squad of soldiers. You have what are called player soldiers that you can use. You have non-player soldiers. And I think for the first time in this entry, you have kind of almost NPC guys, some that come out of the enemy deck, which is really, really cool. And then there's a stack of them that you can kind of choose for less SPs and build a larger squad. The more guys you have, generally the better, because you're going to have more actions. But the game is a squad-based tactical game. It uses a side-scrolling mechanic. As you can see, there are these different columns. They are denoted by these kind of shadow box areas. This is the mission card column, or the first column. This is where the guys start. Your guys are represented on the tactical board by these little markers. This one says 1 and this one says 2. And depending on the number of soldiers you have out, you will place a corresponding marker on each of your soldiers, both your player soldiers, your non-player soldiers, and your kind of NPC soldiers. But you start there in that first column where you're going to do an objective, or a mission card. Then you will choose an objective card, and it's going to tell you to place it anywhere from 2 to 6 columns out on the board. You'll notice there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 6 full columns. There's actually a 7th, but it includes the turn sequence kind of chart, which is very, very helpful. But the objectives are going to tell you, put this in column 3 or column 4 or column 5, and it's going to give you things that have to be done in that location to win the game. Also, your guys have to move from location to location to get to the final objective, all the while fighting enemy troops that are going to spawn based on the location cards that you are drawing. Some will say reinforce, they'll give you a number, and that's how many units can reinforce from that enemy deck. Some are going to say no reinforcements. Some are going to say reinforce only if you're in this location, or If you're in this location, no reinforcement, that kind of thing. But your guys are going to move along towards the objective, all the while trying to take out the enemy troops that are spawning, closing in on you, and attacking you. And you are trying to eliminate them for a couple of reasons. One, to eliminate the threat. But you also, and a new addition to the system, is what is called the body count. And you may be able to see this little box here on the left with the ace of spades. It says body count. Every time you get what is called an EKIA, or a killed in action, enemy killed in action marker from hitting and doing damage to an enemy unit, you are going to put in here one of these body count markers. You can see I've got a bunch of them. They're in different denominations, 10s, 5s, 2s, and 1s. And you're going to put those in that location. And at the beginning of the mission card, it's going to tell you you need 17 body count plus complete whatever requirements are on the objective in a certain amount of time. You've got a mission timer up here in the upper part of the board. You're going to take your turn, do all of your actions. Then you're going to switch over to the hostiles' turn. They're going to spawn, take various actions, attack you, move, and then that round is going to come to an end. You're going to move the timer down. If it was an 8, it'll go to 7. And then you go back to the top of the turn, or the soldier turn. So that is what the Warfighter series is about. One of the best parts of the series is, and I'm going to go ahead and just show you a mission card. We'll show you this one. We got to get out of this place. They also, I really liked the thematic connection between the music of the time in the Vietnam War from 1965 to 75. They chose song names, famous song names, for the names of the different missions, as well as the objectives all along the watchtower. You can see as one of the objectives. But you're going to pick a mission, and you'll notice there's quite a bit of information on here. It's going to tell you what the where the location is, or what region you're in. This one's in Vietnam. These are the base missions, so they're going to cover any area. Some of the expansions, it's going to say specific Da Nang or Hue or those kind of things, the Drang Valley. It's going to give you a number of resource points. So this one says 50, going to give you a time, 15. It's going to tell you where to place that objective, and that's the column number. So this one says 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's going to be a really long one. It's going to tell you what your loadout is, and that is, loadout is printed on each character, and that's how much stuff they can carry. So that's telling you your loadout is -3, which kind of sucks. And then it's telling you there the body count number that you have to acquire over the course of the game. It's also going to tell you what kind of mission it is. This is a rescue mission. It's going to tell you what you can do to build your troops. And then it's going to give you some key information at the start of the first soldier turn, recon one location. So you're literally going to be able to, for free, draw a location. But that's what the missions look like. And here's what an objective looks like. I already showed you this. So remember, this one's being placed in space number 6, and it has an entrance cost in the upper right. That means that's the movement cost that you have to expend to get your soldier from any location into this location. And on your soldiers, I'll go ahead and show you this guy. They have a movement value. This guy's movement is 2. That movement value can be increased by events or action cards, or by discarding a number of cards to increase your movement value to be able to get in to these locations. There also is a search value here. This says 6+. You're going to have to roll to see if you find whatever it is that you are trying to do, destroy the bridge, that kind of thing. It's going to give you the number of reticles that will be spawned in this location when there is a reinforcement draw. There is a reinforcement draw 1. I'm not going to necessarily go over all of that. You can read the rule book for that. But that's the way objectives look. So you've got a mission, and then you've got an objective, and you've then got a bunch of open space that you've got to traverse across to get out, all the while, once again, dealing with the locations, because sometimes there's malaria or heat or fever. You have to deal with those environmental concerns, paying the cost to move, then dealing with the enemies that are going to be spawned, all along trying to do this under the mission timer and getting the body count and keeping your guys alive. Very fun game, works very well. We love to play it cooperatively. It's just fun. I've never played this game and not enjoyed it, and I've been crushed many, many times. So that's generally how. I'll show you some action cards too. You're going to draw a number of action cards to start the game based on the health that is printed on your guy. This guy has a 6 health. That means his hand size is 6. This guy has a 5. It means his hand size is a 5. I'll show you a couple of examples of different cards. This one's called Clear Signals. It's going to add to your hand size if you play this card. It has support 1, which means you actually need to discard an additional card to play this one. But that's going to make it so that when you do a discard and draw, you can draw 2 extra cards, which really helps. You can also retain this one by paying experience points from your guys or paying body count that you have placed on your soldiers and not placed or foregone placement in the body count box. So that's an interesting one. Here's another one. Play when a hostile card moves to stop them from moving and place a suppress marker on them. When a unit is suppressed, an enemy unit, they will not move towards you. They will attack at range, but they're now going to attack with less dice and typically have less good results of hitting you. I want to show you, like here's a good one. Foobar. Play when a hostile card is placed or moves. You basically gain an extra action. Very valuable because each guy's going to have 2 actions each turn. That's going to gain you an extra action. This is a move in. It's another support card where you're going to gain, you can move without spending an action. That's very, very powerful. You also can retain that. Here is a location marker. And out of this deck of about, 50 cards, give or take, there's like 8 or 9 of these location markers. When you draw these in your hand, you can discard them to draw 1 location card from the location deck. And there are about, 15 to 18 locations. That's why that one that said recon a location is so important, because you're going to be able to go in and choose a location. Very valuable. But these different locations basically are locations that you're moving into along the path towards the objective. And they're different things. This one says rapid stream. It's going to have an entrance cost. 4 is fairly high. Most sites are 2 to 3. Spider hole. It's going to give you, once again, reinforcement levels. It's going to tell you how many reinforcement units can spawn there. And then some different things that are going to happen. You have to be able to reconnoiter or draw good locations to do well in this game. There's a low entrance cost, but it has a high reinforcement level and a lot of reticles that can be reinforced, which reticles refers to the number of units basically in that make up each of these cards. This one has 4 reticles. That means if it said 5, what did it say here? If it said 6, drawing that one's going to count towards 4 of those total 6. If you get lucky and happen to draw, look, it's a 3, that one can spawn if it meets the objective, which it does, reinforce of 2 to 4. You're now going to have 7 reticles, but this will be placed. It would only have not gone over if it was a 2. So that's how those, but you've got to get good locations like here, a road, entrance cost 1. Sometimes you've got to get really good ones so that you can move quickly and be able to get to where you are going quickly. But those location markers, basically you discard this and you're going to draw 1 location card. You can pay a body count or 3 XP to instead draw 2. That's very valuable. That's a lot of times how you're going to end up using those resources kind of at the beginning of the game. There are other ones that like give you a free shot, give you a free move. They allow you to pick up gear that you found as you've been traversing. Here's a prepared shot. You're going to declare an attack, defeat the cover roll as being a 6, which is very important. When you roll, you're going to roll a d6 and a 10. You have to hit a number on both of those, or it's a miss, or it will turn into a suppress if you hit one of those but not both. So prepared shot is a valuable thing. There's other ones. That's one of the things I really enjoy about these action cards is they're very versatile. But you're going to draw those, then you're going to play those to take your actions. You have 2 actions per turn. Doing things like moving, drawing new cards, shooting at the enemy, healing wounds, doing all those kinds of things. That's what your actions are going to entail. So you got to make it all the way over here once again in the mission timer under the amount, as well as with the number of body count. So that is an overview of the Warfighter series in general. I'm not going to necessarily cover any more of that. What I want to do is talk about some of the new elements, which are very, very well done. Here's one. These are battle fatigue cards. Various events that are going to come out in the game or certain actions that come out and you play. It is going to instruct you, or even skills. Like this one right here says battle fatigue. I'm going to add 3 of these battle fatigue cards to the draw deck. And these cards are just null cards, right? They just take up a spot in your hand. They're annoying as hell. All you do is discard them. So you're going to get anywhere from 6 to maybe 12 or 15 of these over the course of the game. And that's going to do nothing but delete the effectiveness and the chance of you drawing new, good, and usable cards from the action card deck. That's kind of a new thing. The other new thing that I very much enjoy is the thematic element of engaging these North Vietnamese and VC enemies out of the enemy deck. This is the basic enemy deck. This is going to be used, I believe, in every single scenario that you play. If you end up playing one of the various expansions, I have 3 or 4 of them, you are going to add the expansion enemies because they're thematic or regionally based into this deck, shuffle them all up, and you're going to play with all of those. But I'm going to give you a really quick overview of these enemy cards. These are the reticles, which in essence it says 4 there. That represents that this card represents a squad of 4 soldiers. Think an MG team, a mortar crew, heavy weapons team, etc. There are 4 of them. And then they've got their attack values here. You're going to roll a die based on the number of reticles that are still alive. And then you're going to hit on this one. It's a 7 or less is a miss. An 8+ will give you a wound if they're down to 1 or 2 reticles left. A 5 is a miss. 6+ is a hit if they have 3 or 4. They also are going to give some instructions about where they are placed when they spawn. This one says place 1 behind the rearmost. So rearmost is the rearmost location in the trail where your soldiers are. So if you're at site number 2 and you have a soldier there, the rearmost behind is 1. So you're going to place that there and they are going to move up on you. But one of the new things here is they have a thing called engage. So you will notice there's no picture on this enemy. It's kind of the jungle, which I think to me thematically represents the difficult task of identifying your enemies while fighting in the thick jungles of Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Laos, etc. So when this card is turned over on this side, it has an engage cost. You will notice that right here is the penetration value That's what you're going to try to hit on your 3 or 6-sided dice when you roll. I rolled a 5. I would then penetrate. I then have to roll a 10-sided, and you roll them at the same time. Roll a 10-sider to hit based on what my weapon says. But that's pretty high. Part of that is because you can't really necessarily clearly see the targets. You're kind of firing into a location when where you know that there is movement. But it says here, you can engage them, and this is not requiring an action to engage unless it says so. Some of them will say, play an action to engage. You'll have to spend an action to do that, but not in this case. This says simply expend 1 ammo. So you can take an ammo from your gun and just throw it away. You're losing an ammo, which is never a good thing. But then you are going to engage that unit. What that means is when it is out and you do that, you flip the unit over and you expose who and what they are. Couple of things change. One, you know who it is. This is a squad. You get a picture of that squad. You'll notice the reticles didn't change, but the penetration roll did change. It went from a 3 to a 1. All you got to do is roll a 1 or higher on that 6-sider, and that's almost always going to hit unless you have a negative condition. But you'll notice they changed just a little bit. Their 2 hit numbers are a little bit better. You'll notice they have 3 different categories, and they do 3 wounds and 2 wounds. When they're over here and they're just kind of shooting from the butt, the brush and the scrub, they're only going to do 1 wound. So they become more easier to hit because you can see them, but they can hit you and do more damage. This is a new aspect, to this game. That is called engage. I very much enjoy that. I think that's a very thematic look at the Vietnam War. The American soldiers just never really had a fair fight. The NVA and the VC did not want to stand toe-to-toe with them and fight. They hid, feinted, moved, used tunnels, used the jungle, would hit and run, ambush, that kind of thing. Very, very cool thematic element. The second new thematic element in the game is something called fade. You'll notice that is printed, and it is printed on every single, well, now I say it and I don't see, almost every, it does say fade right there. Every single enemy card is going to have a fade condition. So what fade means, at the end of the hostile turn, and if you see the board here, it actually removes suppress counters. So as you suppress them, they're going to be removed at the end of their turn. Then they're going to do fade. If the condition that is written here is not met, this unit will leave the board. Now, why is that important? Well, a couple of reasons why that's important. Remember, you have a body count. This represents 4 body count. If I can kill this guy by doing 4 damage to him, I'm going to gain 4 body count. That's very valuable. This is a very valuable card. It does a lot of wounds when he's engaged, but I want to kill that the best that I can. You can do multiple hits with things like grenades, rocket launchers, typically with rifles, shotguns, pistols. You're only going to do 1 hit per turn unless there's a card that gives you an extra hit or there's an ability. But I don't want this guy to leave with that fade ability because I want to kill him to, 1, get the body count, but when I kill this unit, I'm going to gain 4 XP. XP is used to fuel a lot of these action cards by giving you a better action if you pay an XP. They can also be used under certain conditions to do other things. It's a currency, and they're very, very valuable. But if that fade condition is met, these guys are going to run away. So it's going to say fade or inflict 1 suppress on a soldier. So when it comes up to that fade phase, he's going to leave the board unless I decide to suppress one of my soldiers, which literally means putting one of these markers on my guy, which represents him being under fire and maybe scared or hunkering down. In order to remove that suppression before I can do something like attack, I'm going to have to use one of my valuable actions. So that's a tough choice. But once again, this is a big source of body count. It's a big source of victory points. I'm going to have to make that decision. Here's another one, a 3 reticle enemy with a 3 suppression value. Once again, penetration value. Once again, this is their non-engaged side. This one says engage 2 action cards. So you have to discard 2 action cards in order to engage him. He also is going to give you a -1 body count per EKIA, which is not good. That's going to take away your ability to get your body count. And then he's also going to fade. When you eliminate him, you're going to add 3 battle fatigue cards to the draw deck. Well, why is that, you might ask? Well, let's flip him over, because if you engage him, these guys are farmers. So these are fleeing farmers. And once again, in the chaos of combat and the dark, humid, dangerous jungles, you see people running down the trail. If you fire on them without engaging them, you're going to do wounds to them, killing them, and you're going to get a negative effect, battle fatigue. So if you engage them, all of a sudden these guys have a whole bunch of conditions that come up. You don't want to kill those guys. But there are a bunch of different types, flankers, stragglers. They all do different abilities. But those that engage and that fade aspect are brand new to Warfighter Vietnam. And frankly, I think a very, very good and well done part of the game. The other thing that I very much enjoy about the Vietnam, and I'm going to show you, I do not have the campaign expansion. Alexander has it. He also has a copy. They have a campaign in this one, which literally is a separate expansion that gives you a campaign board. It is called, I think, Heart of Darkness. It is basically a Apocalypse Now as you're moving along in the jungle, which is kind of cool. It has some extra cards, extra soldiers, weapons, skills, abilities, enemy cards, all types of things. But I very much enjoy that campaign aspect. We are going to start that campaign. Now that we're more familiar with the system and the new mechanics, we're going to go ahead and start that campaign and play that. But I very much enjoy the addition of that in Warfighter Vietnam. By the way, the game is actually called Warfighter, the Vietnam War Special Forces card game. But I do want to show you on the back of the cards, it says Warfighter Nam. That's just kind of an abbreviation. And then on the rule book, it gives you Warfighter Nam as well. Maybe they should have coordinated that better and just called this Warfighter Nam, the Vietnam War Special Cards game, Forces card game. But that's another thing. All right, so the other thing that I very much enjoyed about this, I already talked at the beginning, the graphic design and the art in this game is much, much, much improved. I'll give you an example. Here's a back of a mission card. Look at that great art. Love the graphic design, the use of colors, the use of thematic elements. Very, very much better than the previous editions of this game. The same thing on the action cards. You can see the great back. Looks really good. Those are action cards. The board is just amazing. Very much enjoy what they have done with this game. I'll show you. Here's an example of a location card. Just looks really good. You've got a hooch on the riverbank. Here you've got equipment card, which shows a supply officer guarding the different ammo, weapons, and equipment. You can see that. That's kind of cool. But the production is very, very much top shelf with this one. The other thing that they have done very well is they have gone away from the 100-page rule book that was designed to include all of the aspects of all of the different series. You have World War II, you have fantasy, you have modern, you now have Vietnam. this rule book would have been twice the size and basically would have included all the elements of those rule books together. They have done this now where this is really just the Warfighter Vietnam recruit manual, new recruit manual. It also is edited, redone, realigned, not just copy and paste. And they've improved the language of much of this to make this much more understandable. My one complaint with all of the Warfighter series, just to be upfront and honest, is sometimes the rules suck or sucked. And we did feel that way in a couple of the expansions and a couple of the other iterations of the system. This one is 100% better. Although I have found there's just a little bit of not quite clear enough. I wish they would redo parts, but that's okay. That's almost the way every game is. So I want to give kudos to DVG and their efforts to kind of redo the game, make it easier, make it more playable, redo it graphically, really making a pleasing product. You're really getting the money's worth in this one. They also have these keywords, and this is updated as of February of 2024. This came out, I want to say, in like June or July, give or take. But these are all the different keywords that you are going to encounter on weapons cards, skill cards, player soldiers, enemy cards, location cards, objectives, action cards, etc. Everything is here. Guardian, guard roll, gain. They're going to give you examples. This is a play aid. Now, this is a very dense play aid, but it's very easy to use. They also have, you can see this text that's highlighted in tan are examples compared to the important rules text, which is in black. Very much an improvement on the system, both in the rules and the keyword cheat sheet here. I think I didn't show you the dice. The dice are a big improvement. You get kind of the green die, and you can see the high value, the 10 and the 6 are, they have an M16. Very nice upgrade. I think that's very well done. I think the counter art is really nice. The box is sturdy as normal. And I want to show you these. I'm not going to open these, but here are 3 of the expansions that I was able to get. You've got Hue Battle Pack, the Yadrang Valley Battle Pack, and then you've got Mac V SOG number 1. I think there's 2 or 3 of these. But this is expansion number 5, number 10, and number 11. These are going to include new soldiers, new weapons, new skills, new action cards, new missions, new objectives, and new enemy cards. You're going to take these out, use them along with the base stuff. Remember, I talked about the base stuff. And then when you're done with that, you are not going to cross-pollinate expansions. You're going to collect all the expansion cards, get them out of the game, get out the new one, put them in with the basic cards, and then you're going to play Yadrang. We have played some of Yadrang, and we played a little bit of Hue, and they were very, very fun, very challenging. But there you have it. As a solitaire game, I love this game. I very much do. I can do it at my own pace. They have a really, really good sequence of play, turn sequence over here. You have the attack sequence up at the top, very, very helpful. The attack chart. All of that information is printed directly on the board, which makes playing the game that much easier. Generally, Warfighter is a game that I will play over and over and over again, no matter what the result, no matter what ends up happening. I just enjoy playing it. It's that good. So there you have it, kind of my solitaire thoughts here on Warfighter, the Vietnam War Special Forces card game, or Warfighter Nam, or Vietnam, from Dan Versen Games. I really appreciate you watching. I will definitely include this one in my top 10 solitaire games of 2024 because it's that good. And it might even make an appearance in my top 10 war games of 2024. We'll have to see. We still have about a dozen left that we'd like to get played by kind of the end of the year, 1st of February or March when we do our videos. So Thanks for watching. I'm not going to do a playthrough video. You guys can see playthrough videos on our channel. Alexander's done a couple. I'm not going to do a playthrough video, but I wanted to share my Solitaire thoughts. Very much appreciate you watching. I've been Grant for the Player's Aid.